The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
The busiest week in Canucks history, quote unquote. The Evander Kane trade happened this morning, and now Thatcher Demko supposedly signing an extension ASAP with your Vancouver Canucks. Let's read your comments, because you guys came at us this morning. And, let's just get busy. Nerd out about the game and the team you love. Let's do this. Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
People. We back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks and talking more and more about this Evander Kane trade that happened earlier in the day. If you missed it, what are you doing? You really don't care about this team, or you don't have Wi-Fi. And if that's the case, the Wi-Fi part, I'm a little jealous of you, okay? More on that on another show. My name's Kyle Bowen. This, again, is Locked On Canucks. One love to the Don't Doze Art Lab. Trevor Beggs will be joining us very, very soon. And I think we just got to get right into it, okay? Can we just read some of the comments? Again, we dropped an episode earlier today. Doing our thing, reviewing the Evander Kane trade, instant reaction. It's been like 5 hours since, and you guys love Evander Kane, okay? That's what the comments are telling me. Anyways, let's get to it again on Locked On Canucks. Okay, do we have the comments here? We're seeing a little bit of a boom bam. Can we switch it up a little? Okay, there you go. Can I go a little smaller here on the screen, or what? Can I go smaller? Oh, okay. You know what? Let's just read the comments the way it is. Sorry if I'm blocking them, but it is what it is, okay? It is what it is. And again, you guys going off, saying a lot of things about the Evander Kane trade. Speaking of which, look at Cash thing. I don't mind the trade. It's a 1-year thing, and the Edmonton guy on Donnie and Dolly today shared some really good insight. Go check it out, okay? He also said that the team is charm and soft, and again, it's only 1 year. Why not? If you guys missed it, Bob Stauffer, if I'm saying that right, Oilers journalist, raving about Evander Kane, okay? Saying that he was good in the community, okay? Evander Kane, former TMZ superstar. I didn't know that. Okay, but apparently he's been good in the community, and even more so, Trevor, Bob Stauffer talking about how this guy's the ideal hockey teammate, right? Because he actually defends his teammates. That's important. Okay, Bob Stauffer talking about how this guy dropped the gloves with the tough guy from Minnesota. I think, what's the guy's name? Not Demers. The guy who played for Colorado, Minnesota, the fourth liner. He was available on the block last week, last year. Anyways, Derek Ryan gets attacked and defends a fourth liner. And Trevor, how many times this year did we see Quinn Hughes, Captain Quinn Hughes, get abused? All right? Get assaulted. Dude, Quinn Hughes suffered a lot of injuries, and I'm sure teams will be a little bit more, less lenient on taking liberties on Quinn Hughes because Evander Kane is there.
Yeah, hopefully that makes a difference to the Vancouver Canucks, right? And look, we talked about it a bit this morning. We'll get into a bit here, but it's not all bad with the Evander Kane trade. I still think it's something that a lot of Canucks fans should have apprehension over. And man, oh man, I did read, it's funny how the world works. I did find an article from Jason Botchford from 2016 talking about why the Canucks should not acquire Evander Kane, because he was rumored to come to the Canucks back then as well. And look, in terms of the character issues, look, you can look it up. There's a ton of stuff against him. It does look like there's a lot of stuff that he's done in the community as well. He does have 3 kids now, so there is an argument that he has potentially matured, like Bob Stauffer referred to. There hasn't really been those issues with Kane off the ice as there were in previous seasons. But there were issues with Kane on the ice in the Stanley Cup playoffs as well, right? He brings good to the table. He's a high-event hockey player. He shoots a lot. He scores goals. He goes to the net. He stands for teammates. He can also be a bit of a liability defensively. He can also take penalties at bad times too. But again, I think the big thing for the Vancouver Canucks overall is, what does this move mean in the big picture? Because you've acquired this player for over $5 million, who is, effectively a third line player, maybe a middle six guy. And that's kind of what Patrick Allvin said today, top 9, mid 6. He's overpaid for what he is. And I know it's a 1-year deal. You could say, oh, it's 1 year. It's no risk, but there's ramifications to what the Canucks can accomplish this offseason now that they have Evander Kane on their books. And I think the big question coming out of today is, what is the next move for the Vancouver Canucks? Because, again, their biggest needs heading into this offseason, elite talent up front at forward. And ideally, they need a center. They really do need a top 6 center. Evander Kane really accomplishes neither of those things. You've just eaten up almost half your cap space by trying to get Evander Kane. And, you help the Edmonton Oilers out as well. Come on.
Okay. Trevor just got to go off. Hates Evander Kane. I don't know. Okay. I'm just saying, some of the commenters from our earlier video, I'm surprised that we saw so much love for Evander Kane. Look at the guy named Blight, 13, saying, Trevor, desperate and dumb? How is this move desperate and dumb? Kane is on a contract year. You traded a 4th-round pick for him. The Canucks fans are crying about needing more toughness and more Canadians. And now we got one for a 4th-round pick who's got 1 year left on his deal. If things don't work out, you trade Evander Kane at the deadline. This guy's been on 2 teams in back-to-back years where they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm pretty sure the year before, they started, going to the Stanley Cup Final. Correct me if I'm wrong, but or maybe 2 years before it, Evander Kane's leading the playoffs in scoring. So I feel like Evander Kane could have 15 goals by the time the trade deadline comes around, and you're still getting a 3rd-round pick from him. So how is this stupid and dumb?
If you're trading, honestly though, Kyle, if you're trading Evander Kane for a 3rd-round pick at the trade deadline, the season has not gone according to plan, right?
Of course,
the
I'm
Canucks
just saying.
are in win now mode right now.
How is it stupid or dumb though? I'm just saying. I think that's what I learned from the comments earlier. How is it the stupid and dumb part is it's Evander Kane, former TMZ superstar.
I think the stupid and dumb part to me is the fact that you need top 6 upgrades. You need upgrades at the center ice position, and Evander Kane is neither of those things. And you've eaten up half your cap space to do that. And now, in order to improve your top 6 or the center ice position, you're probably going to have to move someone out of significance, which, might have been an inevitability anyways. But again, just taking on Kane's contract. And again, the salt in the wound for me is the fact that they've really helped out the Oilers here. And, you could maybe go glass half full and say this is going to give the Oilers some space to overpay Evan Bouchard. And look, again, like I've said, the Evander Kane deal, it's not all bad. He's a local boy. He brings size. He brings toughness. The Canadian thing, I don't care necessarily about. I just want good hockey players on my team. I don't really care where the hell they're from. But again, Evander Kane at this point in his career, he's if he's your top 6, pencil into your top 6 on opening night, Allvin probably hasn't done his job.
I don't think he is. I think he's when Allvin's coming out and saying he's a top 9, middle 6 player, it's openly saying, they helped the Oilers out by accepting his $5 million, and they're going to use him in his middle 6. I think Allvin and Rutherford are so honest that if he was an option for Elias Pettersson, he would have said it. So this is a middle 6 toughness type of move. I wonder how much this has to do with the Florida Panthers changing hockey culture, even though playoff hockey has always been won in the trenches. I just think that Florida in general, it's made people think about the game a little different. But all in all, again, I'm surprised that this trade overall happened. And again, the commenters, and maybe they were mad at us saying, how stupid and dumb this was, but a lot of love for Evander Kane. The whole Canadian thing, him being super tough, and man, oh man, just can we emphasize? Can we just sit with that a bit too? The whole him being not Canadian but tough. Again, the Canucks are soft, right? Aren't the Canucks soft? They lose JT Miller, they lose Zadorov in the span of 8 months. If this is a win now move, Kane doesn't just give you that middle 6 help with 15 to 20 goals or whatever that means. He's actually just a bit of protection. It's a lot of money for protection, but this team needed that. You can't say they didn't. Quinn Hughes got ragdolled last year. Nobody did anything. At any point in the season, JT Miller barely did anything,
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to have that in my lineup for not the cost of $5 million, to be completely honest. And look, again, I think if the Canucks were, swimming in cap space here, it might be a different situation. But, Kyle, I might phrase it to you this way, because we touched on it really briefly this morning. But And I have a feeling based on comments where the listeners might go, but would you rather have Pius Suter or Evander Kane in this lineup?
Pius Suter.
Same here. And I think a deal like
But it's
this,
different because Pius Suter is going to have signing for like 5 or 6 years. And it's clear that the Canucks don't want to
Okay.
hand out term to like,
would you
I don't know
rather have
why.
Suter? Would you rather have Suter at 5 years, $5 million, or Kane at 1 year's, $5 million? I'd still rather have Suter because I think he's a better hockey player.
I was gonna say the same thing. I would rather have Suter too. Look, again, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this Evander Kane trade completely because I know he's a piece and like he's helped the Oilers. Let's be real. He's helped the Oilers progress in the playoffs. Have a bit of culture. I know people look at the culture issues with Evander Kane, like, oh my God, TMZ, blah, blah. But it's like, yo, dude, he's helped that team play in big games and get them to the point where if it's not Florida, they're winning a Stanley Cup. Like that's the truth. There is some value there. But I think I don't know how to completely feel about it outside of all the noise because I don't view the Canucks as a cup contender. And if they're going to make win now moves involving players that have 1 year left on their deal, I think the ceiling's got to be bigger than Evander Kane.
Yeah.
It has to because he doesn't push the needle.
100%.
Like Evander Kane's able to do what he's able to do. Like he's always going to be a piece of shit on the ice and defend his teammates. But even the offense, right? This guy's had 87,000 surgeries, right? Like he's had so much work done on his body. And oh yeah, he played with the 2 best players of the generation. Like those guys' playoff stats, Leon and Connor, you compare them to Gretzky and Lemieux. That's who he's playing with. Or if he's not playing with them, he's playing with Nuge or just down the lineup. But his goals, his stats, that's correct. Like it's the truth. I haven't watched every Oilers game, but I guarantee his stats are inflated because he played with those guys. That's
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah, no, 100%. You look at his playoff stats too. I mean, possession metrics, points, a lot better with them on the ice. Now, I think it's worth noting that, 11 of his 12 points in the playoffs did come at even strength, which was one of the top marks among NHLers in the playoffs. So that does say something, but certainly, the most damage on the ice was with Draisaitl and McDavid. And that shouldn't necessarily go against him because that's really true for anyone else on that team. I mean, Evander Kane's not a guy who's going to drive his own line. He's a complimentary winger. Who's going to crash some bodies and stand up for teammates, right? Again, there is value in Evander Kane. I just don't necessarily agree with the move that the Canucks made here.
And that's okay. Like the only reason I agree with it right now is because he can defend Quinn Hughes. And I was just like, it was Brandon Duhaime. What's his name? Duhaime. Again,
Brandon
when
Duhaime,
Stauffer told me that story or told us the story that he's out there defending Derek Ryan, like this guy's already like, Evander Kane has gone through surgeries. Dude, he's gone through bankruptcy. Like he's risking his career to defend Derek Ryan. It's because he's a hockey player. Like he's a real hockey player. You win with guys like that, especially in the playoffs, like that mob mentality. And he's one of the crazy to say this, but he's probably one of the ringleaders when it comes to like establishing mob mentality in a hockey team. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, let's get to the comments on the live chat, and then we'll get to the other side because Thatcher Demko's about to sign an extension, and I know it has something to do with the Evander Kane thing, okay? So we'll get to that, but I want to read this comment. Bobby Bluger saying the low acquisition cost makes it seem right, but the opportunity cost is worrying. This is the best way to spend $5 million. Guess the trade market is too tough for this management. And Trevor, a big reason why we got Evander Kane is not just because we're going to lose Pius Suter and Brock Besser. It's because we didn't get anything for Brock Besser and Pius Suter. So that's why when it comes to like a low acquisition cost for the Canucks, a low acquisition cost was a 4th round pick, right? That's as low as they're supposed to go. But when you're like a middling team and you're out of the playoffs, you go get extra 2nd and 3rd round picks for Pius Suter and Brock Besser. So you're able to like do more, right? Like you're able to like take chances by trading the extra 2nd round pick and a 3rd round pick and get other players. But this was one of their few options. And that's because they didn't asset management for the Canucks historically because of Francesco Aquilini and company has been absolutely horrible. And you can call this move desperate or dumb, but to be honest, Trevor, it's one of the only few available for this team right now. And he did it.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point here, Kyle, is this has been one of the most aggressive front offices in the NHL. And, certainly one of the most active ones since Alvin took over. You like to believe that they've been doing their homework, making calls, trying to make a big deal. And Kyle, we talked about it. They didn't put themselves in a great position to be asset rich this offseason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could have had probably an extra couple first round picks if you don't acquire Marcus Pettersson, you trade Brock Besser. Could have had something else of significance if you traded Pius Suter. Guys who, again, Suter and Besser looks like they're about to lose anyways. Pettersson you could have signed as a UFA. So if they had those assets, I think this is a different conversation, but they don't have those assets. So trading for guys like Evander Kane might be the best avenue for this team. I don't even really want to call it the best avenue because I still think there's better avenues than acquiring Evander Kane, like which we've talked about on this show. You again probably taking some pain on this roster, trading a goalie, trading high draft picks this year or next to acquire, impactful young top 6 forwards, which is really what this team needs if they want to get into cup contention territory.
I don't know if this team they obviously want to get into that territory, but I don't think they believe they can get there unless a couple miracles happen, and that's like the team being healthy and the decor being healthy and Demko being healthy and then Pettersson coming back to form. Like that's the only way this happens, because I don't think this offseason is Evander Kane to me is as, I don't know. I feel like it's as crazy as it gets. It's as crazy as it gets. Like, what's next after this? Is it a Lankinen trade? Is it whatever? But who's coming in? I don't know. Because the Canucks, even if they trade players like Dakota Joshua, who Thomas Drance mentioned today, Teddy Bluger in a first round pick, Dakota Joshua in a first round pick. What's that getting you? It's probably a player, to be honest, that's could play second line center, but is in the playoffs, is he as impactful as a guy like Evander Kane? Probably even to that point, not. He's not. So it's interesting times, but on the hockey side of things, the more and more I look at this, I'm not hating it completely. Okay, just on the hockey side of things. Okay, the 4th round pick, you get Evander Kane in here. Maybe he does well next year. You can trade him again. Maybe we'll try asset management that time around. And again, just having some physicality on this team. This team is so soft. I like Kiefer Sherwood and company, and DPD's here now too. But I like the foundation of toughness that they have now. I do. I'm not gonna lie, and that matters for Quinn Hughes because he needs to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about the toughness factor a bit more on the other side, because I think there's a couple elements to that for your Vancouver Canucks and just NHL-wide in general. Well, let's talk about the Thatcher Demko potential extension coming down the line, what it means for Kevin Lankinen and Artur Shilovs. All that coming up next on Locked On Canucks. Before we get back to the show, let's shout out a new sponsor, baby. This episode is brought to you by Rougiette. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Boing, maybe you even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue. Oh, baby. And it kicks in fast, on average, in 15 minutes. Effects can last for up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. A boom, bam. If traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch, and I love that it's completely online, okay? Getting older in this thing called life. Life is busy, extra tired, and sometimes I'm just not performing up to snuff. But Rougiette, they helped me out by connecting me with a board-certified doctor that ships your treatment discreetly to your door. And if you don't believe me, you can read the customer reviews right on their website. So head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL and use code LockedOnNHL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL and use promo code LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Individual may vary. I'm still here. Okay. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit Rougiette website for full safety information.
people. We back doing this, and that's talking about the Evander Kane trade out of nowhere. It happened. And Trevor, on a scale of 1 to 100, like how surprised were you that this happened? Because to me, it was I actually thought I woke up to a dream because I've been having some lucid dreams. No, straight up. I wasn't thinking of this, and it happened. And the diva comment and how we don't want that and locker room issues. And I know what Evander Kane's been better over the last couple of years, and we have to give him credit for that. I know, okay? Because he hasn't been causing a ruckus over the last couple of years. Recency bias is a thing. We're all human. I'm just saying. I know Alvin's holding on to that too. He said it today. The past is the past. All in all, though, I'm surprised they went this direction. And the more and more I think about it, it's like it was one of their few options. Now, that being said, I heard that the Oilers got better offers. Thomas Grant said this too for Evander Kane, but Evander Kane wanted, maybe he has a no move clause, but he wanted to come to Vancouver. So, Trevor, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I believe off the top of my head, his no move clause was 15 teams that he could veto a trade to. And Vancouver, of course, was not on his no move list. And yeah, like you said, Thomas Grant's reporting that better offers were out there. Again, I did see some reports, other insiders saying that, grading the trade and whatnot, that, the Canucks should have taken on a 4th rounder to take on Kane's contract, which was my initial feeling. But at the end of the day, there's not a lot of value to Evander Kane, but, teams, I do believe that other teams still wanted him, right? Because, again, it's 1 year left. He's been on a Stanley Cup contender. He's been fine in the playoffs. So there is still value to Evander Kane. The value is just not that high because of his age, his injury history, and the fact that you got to pay him $5 million next season.
And again, the Florida Panthers thing, like that has a lot to do with why teams would want Evander Kane. They're changing it up. Even the personality, like there's just more of a feeling for players like that this time around. And I know hockey's always been like that, but again, like it's a copy Panther league right now, and Evander Kane kind of connects to that. And I've seen a lot of people say the same thing, right? Like, how come we have to give up a 4th round pick? Like, why couldn't it be Evander Kane and a 4th for a 7th round pick, right? Because we helped the Oilers out by giving them a goaltender, because it's going to happen. They're going to get John Gibson or something like that. I know it's going to happen. But the economy's so shit right now. I feel as if these owners are like, yo, we're not retaining salary is not going to happen in the next 13 months. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? I actually feel like that's the truth, because everyone's just getting a little cheaper out here because it's desperate times. Anyways, Thatcher Demko, he's reported to sign an extension possibly by the end of the week. There's been progress. Darren Dreger talking about it. Rick Dhaliwal talking about it. And this matters because, as we mentioned earlier today, it's connecting to me. Thatcher Demko is the second captain on this team. And if you're bringing Evander Kane into this dressing room, you need Thatcher Demko there. A big reason why the Canucks sucked last year was not just because Thatcher Demko wasn't on the ice. He wasn't also in the room after games and being, a legitimate player and having a purpose and having his aura in that room. All that was taken away, and shit went to, it didn't work out. Now we're here trading 4th round pick for Evander Kane. Okay. All in all, though, he's a stoic, he's a leader, and they need that energy. They need Demko healthy, but they also need Demko's leadership in that room ASAP. And Trevor, talk about Demko, but also just guess the number on the extension. Go from there.
Yeah, I mean, Thatcher Demko, one of the longest tenured players on this team, and that calm, cool, collected experience he brings on the ice, from everything I've gathered, he brings that in the locker room as well, right? He's typically a guy, sometimes he kind of makes, don't want to call it snarky comments, but kind of sarcastic comments when he's in interviews. But this isn't a guy who, really gets so riled up. I think he's a guy that does bring a calming presence to that locker room. And like you said, he wasn't in that locker room for a big chunk of this season. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's partly why I've been on the sell high on Shelov's train instead of the trade Demko train. And we talked about it this week. Go check out yesterday's episode. We even clipped that for the YouTube listeners too. But, I feel like one of my initial reactions when Kane was acquired today was that, is Demko going to go out the door, right? Demko's making $5 million for 1 more year. Kane making $5 million for 1 more year. Are they going to have to trade Demko to A, upgrade their top 6, and B, give them the cap space to go, get somebody else as well? But again, like you said, reports are that the Canucks want to explore extension with Demko and Garland. Sounds like they're closer with Demko. In terms of the number, I've always believed it would be relatively short term. I'm not sure. Again, it's a risk both ways, so it's a very tough deal to predict. But my thought is it's going to be somewhere in that kind of 3-year, $7-ish million range.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if they go long term, maybe they get up to 8, but I don't think the Canucks are comfortable going long term.
No way.
And I think Demko might want to bet on himself to an extent too. So my guess would be short term, but honestly, this is one of the tougher deals to predict out there just because of the uncertainty surrounding his injury.
Let's do it. 2 years, $12 million, 6 years per. Demko, you help the team out by, not having us pay you 7. We'll save that $1 million. We'll use it towards the team. Your stats get inflated because you have a better hockey team playing in front of you. And then in 3 years, when you're fully healthy and like you've proven that you could be around for 1,000 straight days at work, you're going to get paid $10 to $11 million.
Yeah, I mean that's $6 million really is just cap inflation, right? Which is interesting. So when he signed that deal, he was, a young goaltender kind of pushing to be a starter. He hadn't really gotten there yet, but we all really believed in the bet, and I think it's been a really good bet for the Vancouver Canucks because when he's been healthy, he's been great. I think it's going to be more than $6 million, whether certainly if it's long term, even if it's short term, just because it's again cap inflation is 6. But you throw in a runner up to the Vezina in there, and I feel like it's got to be probably at least like the high 6s to low 7s.
Yeah.
Even then, like it might even close to that 7.5 range. But the market's been set for on a long term deal for Swayman and Allmark. You're looking at like $8.5 million, right? Probably even more now that we have this salary cap numbers. So I think short term around that 7-ish is probably what I would wager. But again, tough call. And Kyle, what is the tougher call too is the Canucks just extended Kevin Lankinen. If it's true that they are going to extend Thatcher Demko, are they actually going to trade Kevin Lankinen in the next week here before his no move clause kicks in?
Why not? We just got Evander Kane. Like, you just never know. You never know. And Artur Shilov's just won Calder Cup MVP, and like they're thinking about it. And I'm hearing that it's true. Okay, the Canucks do not want to carry 3 goaltenders next year. Obviously, that never works out, right? There's not a lot of practice time available for all of them. You can't get into a rhythm. It's not going to make sense. And just based on like the Canucks spending the $5 million on Evander Kane, like that's somewhat of a risk, even though it's a 1-year thing. I just wonder if like they're like, okay, we can get the $5 million back by trading Lankinen somewhere else. And there's a lot of there's risk in keeping Demko and there's risk in keeping Shilovs, but there's also risk in keeping Kevin Lankinen because if like he struggles next year, then they're never going to be able to get off that contract. That's the truth. Like next year, he has to prove that he could be a 1B or a 1A to be worth that contract. And there's that small chance that, because he's Kevin Lankinen, like he could just be a backup, and nobody wants to pay a backup $5 million. But right now, he's a 1A, he's a 1B minimum. And again, like I said, you just never know. And I know you want. I'm contradicting myself just off that statement because there has to be some thinking that if we're keeping Demko and we're extending him for 3 years, obviously they're trying to raise the ceiling of this team and just keep it as high as possible. But this team probably knows that their secret weapon and their leverage point to Quinn Hughes and just success overall could be having 2 really good goaltenders and keeping them rested, right? And keeping Demko rested. Like, that's how he doesn't get hurt. And they're all over the place. This team is crazy, man. It's crazy. But if they keep Kevin Lankinen, I know I've been on that wagon for a while. Like, if they keep him and trade Shilovs, I'll be scared. But at the same time, I'm still kind of confident that Kevin Lankinen can be a 1B with Demko. Like, that's some good
I'm 100% I'm very confident in that too, right? It's just, I just feel like one of these guys has to go. I think it's a pretty dumb risk to risk losing Artur Shilovs on waivers. It's also a risk to have Demko and Shilovs as your tandem too, because Kevin Lankinen is the sturdy, reliable one in there. But I think if you can trade Kevin Lankinen, it might be worth rolling the dice on Artur Shilovs as a backup next season. But again, If Demko gets hurt, you're kind of in a very similar position to last year, except you don't have the safety net in Kevin Lankinen. So massive risk for the Canucks either way. Kyle, quickly, in terms of what they could get for Kevin Lankinen, I think one of the most recent trades that might give us a gauge would be Logan Thompson. Now, the difference here is Logan Thompson was, making next to nothing. He was, getting paid less than $800,000, 1 year left on his deal. And the Washington Capitals bet on him by trading 2 third-round picks to him. Now, Kevin Lankinen, again, with the contract in place, I think he's proven more than Logan Thompson at the point where Logan Thompson was traded last year. But again, you got to commit to this guy for 5 years. So, again, I really do think you're talking like probably not instead of 2 third-round picks, maybe like 1 second-round pick or like a third and less. But I think that's maybe the type of return the Canucks to get a couple draft picks for Kevin Lankinen. What do you think?
Yeah, that's it. Like, it's a salary dump. And that's okay if it is the case. Because I would look at it like this. Like, they'd probably get a similar package if it's like a 3rd and a 4th round pick at the deadline if they chose to trade Lankinen. I'm not expecting a first, even though he played really well. Like, just even like
No.
if you watch like the old episodes of Locked On Canucks this year, like, Kevin Lankinen, like we were talking about him, like he was amongst the best goalies in the league just because athletically
he was in the beginning of the season. He was in the best of the conversation through the first month or two, 100%.
And then he had like the fancy stats from his career prior to back up, like, he was destined to have a boom, because he's athletic and he's smart and he's Kevin Lankinen. Okay, I want to get to this comment before we get to break. Okay. A lot of fans are like this too. Okay, Brebeck is saying, or Brybeck, I'm sorry. It's such a bonehead idea to re-sign Demko. And I want to bring this up. And it's a little scary, but it'd be so Canuck, right? You know how like the league is going to hammer down more on the LTIR thing? I think a lot of us, me and you included, like we're okay with taking this chance on Thatcher Demko being healthy, not only because he's good, but also because it's like, if he's hurt and he can't play, just put him on LTIR. Who cares? Move on. But what if that gets taken away? Like, what if it's not as friendly as it was in years past? The first time we want to use it to our advantage. And now we got Evander Kane on our team who started this the Pandora's box for Gary Bettman to be like, you know what? The Oilers, I think you were lying about Evander Kane. He could have played, but you guys used the LTR thing, and we got to investigate. And now we got that guy on our team.
That would be very Canuckish for the LTIR rules to change exactly what we want to use it. Interesting times for your Vancouver Canucks. Again, let us know in the comments. Are the Canucks going to trade Kevin Lankinen? What do you think the Canucks should do with their goaltenders, especially with the news now that Demko is seemingly close to an extension with the Vancouver Canucks? All right, Kyle, let's cut for a break here. I do want to get a few comments on this side. I want to talk a bit about team toughness. You're listening to Locked On Canucks.
Man, oh man, we are back doing this. What a busy time. Dude, I'm about to go on CBC. I think I'm about to make my TV debut. Talking about Evander Kane. And I'm going to do it. I'm heading over to the studio like in like 10 minutes. I got to drive down there. I'm going to admit that I'm the most hated person in Edmonton. I got to do that. And what are the chances that I have to recap a trade about the Oilers and the Canucks after all the hell I was putting out there into the interwebs over the last couple of weeks? Okay? That's crazy. Now, what are the chances of this? Okay, I thought about this. Evander Kane being good for Elias Pettersson, because Evander Kane is swaggy. He's got confidence. He's got bravado. He's an individual. And maybe he can remind Pettersson and be a good friend and push him in the direction of being an individual again, too, because Pettersson's been more sheltered over the last 16 months, been more quiet, very little individualism from him personally. And I don't know, maybe Evander Kane brings out some of that bravado in him.
Yeah, I do feel like these kind of notions are maybe grasping at straws a bit for the deal, right? Again, not the smartest deal by the Canucks, and I'll stand by the comment I made earlier. A little desperate and a little dumb by this organization. I mean, again, some good with Evander Kane there, but I think we're grasping at straws to tell ourselves this is a good deal. Again, Evander Kane, gold and prove us wrong. Help this team, get to the playoffs and do some damage. But as it stands right now, it does not seem like the best use of asset management. Now, Kyle, there's a lot of comments I want to get to, but I want to make one comment quick on team toughness. Now, the Vancouver Canucks last season were one of the league leaders in hits, right? Does that define team toughness?
No.
It does to an extent, but not entirely. And I think this team, obviously, you see it with the Evander Kane acquisition, they are concerned about team toughness. Kyle, like you said, Quinn Hughes had a couple nights there where he was getting dummied. The team got pushed around last season in the sense that guys were getting injured, and that's not always due to teams being tough on them. But again, this team was put up the quantity of hits, but maybe not the quality in terms of putting the fear in their opponents. So something worth mentioning, this is a report from Thomas Drance today. The Canucks, apparently, according to Drance, are already negotiating with Sammy Blais to sign him to an NHL contract. So it looks like Sammy Blais maybe parlaying his exciting run with the Abbotsford Canucks into an NHL contract with the Vancouver Canucks. I know Andrew, one of our top commenters and listeners here on Locked On Canucks, will love that one. He's been a big Sammy Blais guy, but I kind of go back to the notion that the Canucks really do want to make this team meaner heading into next season.
And I'm looking at their depth chart. Like, I'm looking at their bottom 6 or the middle 9. They got like Joshua, Bluger, Garland, Hoaglander, Ratu, and Drew O'Connor, Dylan O'Connor the third or whatever, all in their bottom 6. They got Sherwood and Kane as well. If they're signing Sammy Blais to like a one-way deal and like making like him like wait, like he can't go through waivers or whatever, I guess Thomas Drance was onto something when he said Bluger and Dakota Joshua are on the block. Especially Joshua, which honestly pisses me off because it's like, if we trade Dakota Joshua because we brought in Evander Kane and we gotta like see what Sammy Blais can do in the NHL, what the hell's in the water fountains at Rogers Arena, dude? Yo. Bro, is Alvin using Rogaine and is going straight to his bloodstream and his brain and just corrupting him? Because these are moves. I feel like if that's their process, I hope it isn't. Because I like Dakota Joshua, and I feel like you have to give him a clean slate because he didn't have training camp last year.
Yeah,
like you have to.
And Dakota Joshua
last year and blah blah blah. But
yeah. Sorry, but I was just going to say
like that, it seems as if they're moving as if they're a team that's like a step away from winning the Stanley Cup. And that's crazy because we keep seeing it, bro. Teams who make the playoffs year in and year out eventually win a Stanley Cup. Not the team that always misses it and gets in. And they have a miracle run. Like, the miracle run barely happens. Are these guys watching Miracle on Ice? Disney did it, whatever? Like, crazy. Anyways, I gotta go, Trevor. You read some comments, take care of the people. If they trade Dakota Joshua because they gotta bring in Sammy Blais and Evander Kane, holy.
Doesn't make a lot of sense. Kyle, one left to you. Go check out Kyle on CBC later today. We'll get that clip out somehow, some way. But I want to spend the next few minutes going to the people here on Locked On Canucks. Kyle mentioned it when we did the show earlier this morning, our quick hit on the trade. Is this the most polarizing trade the Canucks have made in the last 12 months? And just by looking at the comments, I would say that that's probably the case. And let's point at this comment from Hangia. This feels similar to the Vincent Desharnais pickup. Hangia says, we try to replace Zadorov with Desharnais and failed miserably. It feels like they're trying to replace JT Miller with Kane out of desperation as well. It looks Canucks management came out and said that there's no replacing JT Miller, but it certainly feels like they want to replace some of that toughness and bravado, certainly on the ice, but perhaps in the locker room as well. Now, of course, you see comments popping off and fair questions. What's Evander Kane going to do to Elias Pettersson? And I think these are different guys as a fresh slate, even though they are. Kane and Miller are both guys that are loud in the locker room, who play physical on the ice. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the same type of guys in the locker room. So again, Hangia, maybe not so much a fan of the trade, but other players are definitely a fan of the trade. Let's go to this comment from Carlos Van Grinder, laughing at the fact that we're saying they helped the Oilers. Yeah, they just help them be able to pay Bouchard way too much money, which will make their job much tougher. He thinks it's a great trade. Just watch how great this guy plays. Look, Evander Kane certainly had his moments with the Edmonton Oilers. But as we've talked about, he was a guy who did tail off as it went on, and tons of surgeries, lots of wear and tear on the body. If Evander Kane does get through the 82 grind with the Vancouver Canucks, 82 game grind, he'll hit 1,000 games in his career, and that's a pretty impressive mark for the Vancouver native. But I think that remains to be seen. It's again, when he missed the entire regular season last year, it's great that he came back in the playoffs. But we'll see if his body can actually hold up here with the Vancouver Canucks. All right, a few more here to wrap up. I like that Canucks. This comment stood out to me. Mother Knucker, one of the top listeners on the show, top commenters, and he loves his toughness. And this is why this stood out to me. Mother Knucker wanted to trade Brock Besser and a first-round pick to Columbus for Matthew Olivier. Now we bring a tough guy in Evander Kane to town, and Mother Knucker's out there saying, I wouldn't trade a used jock for Evander Kane. Man, oh man, that's strong words there. And look, again, there's an argument that the Canucks, again, could have gone down a couple of different avenues here. And again, people are, very torn on this trade. Let's show a comment from Russell, aka Nothing is Perfect. Go check him out on YouTube. If you change the perspective of the trade, that is, make it essentially Vasily Podkolzin for Evander Kane, do you make that trade? And I think that's an interesting lens to look through it for. I would probably still have Podkolzin over Evander Kane in a straight-up trade. Now, that might be a bit bold, but I think it goes back to value for the cap hit, right? Evander Kane, I think, is, a third liner at this point in his career. He can play in your top six in a pinch, but he's more or less a third liner. Vasily Podkolzin, probably more of a fourth liner, but he's doing it for, a fraction of the cost that Evander Kane is doing. Having a guy like Vasily Podkolzin in the lineup, who, in my mind, was more impactful for Edmonton in the Cup finals themselves than Evander Kane, I'd still rather have Podkolzin in my lineup than Evander Kane. Let's get to some comments on Thatcher Demko here and the contract that Thatcher Demko might sign. Calvin992 in the comments saying anything over $5 million is pushing it for Demko. Well, I'll tell you what, Thatcher Demko is getting more than $5 million. Again, I think the number is going to start with a 7. No matter what the deal is. Brybeck in the comments saying it's a boneheaded idea to re-sign Thatcher Demko. And again, he has not made it through an entire season healthy. And I've said it before, said it on the show already. I've been a believer in Thatcher Demko. I think the Canucks probably should re-sign him because their best chance of competing is having Thatcher Demko in net. But depending on what you could get from him via trade, it might make some sense to trade Thatcher Demko this offseason. Been a busy day in Canuck land. Again, that was another episode of Locked On Canucks in the books. It'll be a busy week ahead because after acquiring Evander Kane, you got to think there's another shoe to drop. I have a hard time seeing the Canucks make this trade, walk into free agency with $7 million, sign X top 6 forward, and then be done with it. I think there are more moves coming. Darren Dreger reporting today, take it with a great assault, that the Canucks are one of the busiest teams working the phones, and there could be multiple deals in the works. So today was a busy day. I expect a lot of other days here to be busy for your Vancouver Canucks, and we got y'all covered here on Locked On Canucks. Again, we appreciate you for tuning in. If you like the show, go share it with a friend. Go subscribe, like on YouTube, on the podcast side. Go follow us, and the best thing you could do, leave a 5-star review. We love each and every one of you. Go Canucks, go! And we got you covered here next time on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.